The art of hooping fabric is a learned trait, so take your time and practice, and I'm going to show you just a few tricks that I always show my students. First off, we've got our fabric, and if you do need to have your fabric and design positioned at a certain place, go ahead and draw a vertical and horizontal line. I love the Fix-On pens, and then if I'm working on dark fabrics, the Clover white marking pen is my second favorite. Also some spray adhesive. This is the Web Bond from Metler 505 spray. Those are all great sprays. This is like insurance for your hooping because then it helps so the fabric doesn't get stretched out, especially if you have knit fabrics. So what I have here are 2 layers of stabilizer that is tearaway. I always use tearaway on the back of woven fabrics and cutaway on the back of knit fabrics. Now I'm going to just give it a little spray, and I would avoid my machine, and that is why I like the Web Bond from Metler because it is a little bit more of a direct spray, and I don't get as much overspray on my cabinets and machines. So I'm going to just kind of spray these layers together so they kind of stick. I've pretty much created a Post-it note for the fabric. So when I lay my fabric on here, it is just going to stay stuck. I'm going to give it a little bit more spray now that I've contained those 2 layers. There we go. And then we'll lay our fabric. You want to lay your fabric down at rest. So not to stretch it, just lay it down, let it stick. Like I said, like a Post-it note, and we're ready to go. Also notice I have a nice flat surface that I'm working at, and I'm standing up. Hooping sitting down, it's not easy. Next, on your hoop, you want to look for the outer hoop, has the bracket on the left side, and then the open little quick release down here. So you want to open that up, and then go ahead and loosen the screw. Not all the way, but a good amount, all right? And then to identify a few things on your outer hoop, or inner hoop, you've got the size, the 360 by 200. Now you'll always want to use the hoop size closest to the design size. Your machine will actually tell you what size that is, but there are a lot of hoops Viking makes, so you will need to tell it which hoop you are using. Now I'm going to do a bunch of different designs as we go through all the tutorials, so I'm going to hoop up one big piece of fabric. Now if you are going to use and need to align something within the hoop, you can use these marks on the side to go even with, or at least get in perpendicular to the hoop. So I lay my inner ring on top of my fabric and stabilizer, and I pick it up as a unit. Notice how everything moves together, nobody shifts and slides. Also too, if I really want to get it centered, especially if you have a design maxing out the space, you don't have a lot of room to move it side to side, you're going to need to get those right on that center point. But honestly, most of the time I just try to get those lines perpendicular, and with the Husqvarna Viking Designer Diamond Royale options of hooping crooked, it's actually not a big deal as much as it used to be. So get it in there straight, makes it easier for later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my 2 hoops to each other. And I know you're not going to be able to see it, but I'll walk you through what I'm doing. I'm pushing the top part in first, and then pushing it up. And then underneath, right underneath here, I'm going to slide this off the edge of the table so I can kind of pull that outer ring. So usually I kind of slide it off and pull out. And notice that the hoops just kind of drop into each other. They should actually be fairly loose. And then all you need to do is push the quick release closed. Then after closing it, then tighten up the screw the final amount. Once you cannot tighten it any further, I like to take my thumbs on the inside corners and push the inner hoop just a little past flush. So I can just barely feel that stabilizer coming past the outer hoop. And do that on all 4 corners. It kind of just makes everything just a little tighter. And when the hoop is laying on the bed of the machine, it makes it quieter. So that's for hooping. But remember these little clips that we had in with your embroidery accessories? I'm going to show you now how these work. Why do we need them? You'll definitely want them on your larger hoops, and they are going to help pinch together the edges here. As they pinch, and you'll see the little openings here, and you have to kind of set them. There's on one side, there's a little kind of tongue. There's a little tongue. Put the tongue side in first, and then roll it to the outside, and you'll see it just sits in the little groove. And notice you've got little grooves all the way along the side. When you take a hoop that is rectangular and you tighten it in the corners, you're going to find that longer skinny parts don't always stay tight. And that's where the fabric can kind of start to pull and slide in and get a little wavy. So those little clips help stabilize the edges. Now, so you can put some at the top, some at the side, whatever works. When you work with the Majestic hoop, that's that double wide hoop that is optional for you. You'll definitely want to use those with that hoop because it is even bigger. Okay, find the tongue, and you can put these on the other side. You'll notice that you'll be able to go in front and after the brackets. That's why those are spread out a little bit more, but as close as we can get those to be in there. So you want the fabric to be tight in the hoop, but not pulled tight. Does that make sense? So you want the edges to pinch the fabric and hold it. Remember, your stabilizer is your key. You can embroider on just about anything if you have the right stabilizer selected for the project. I always say, if you have the right stabilizer, whatever gets caught in between the stitches and stabilizer is going to turn out perfect.